This video is made for adult collectors because I need to get the screenshot out of Evan's message before I start doing this because I need to read it. They said they were going to do it, and they did do it. We got every single member of Devastator, all 7 of them, in the same year. We got Scrapper, Bone Crusher, Scavenger, he fell on the floor, Mixmaster, Hook, Long Haul, and the Crotch. Yay. It's so nice to complete a combiner in the span of a few months. I really like this new strat that Hasbro has. Shame we have to wait a year before we get the next piece of Bruticus, but we did get 2 full combiner teams this year, and the pre-order for a 3rd, technically, from Takara. The last 2 components of Devastator arrived, and this has presented me with both my favorite and least favorite figure of the set. There's a lot to talk about with these 2, so let's just get right into it. This is Mixmaster and Scavenger from Studio Series 86, and these were bought at CMD's store. Here's the box, not sponsored. Both of these look the part. I'm going to start with my least favorite, mainly just to get him out of the way, because I have a lot to say in regards to Mixmaster and his articulation. So, Scavenger. He is literally just the smaller Combiner Wars toy. He looks like an idiot wearing a diaper and short-ass arms. I'm not a fan of the proportions, but the colors are nice and vibrant, with the purple jeans, the silver torso, and the nice sculpted detail on like the chest area, especially closer to the arms. He has the bucket arm on the back that you can remove if you don't want it there. It's on a 5mm peg. So here's Gamer Edition Prime with a bucket arm. His gun is neat with like that Winter Soldier side mounted magazine. I don't know anything about guns. It's probably my favorite of the Constructicon weapons. His hands though are entirely painted. They're either on the purple or the black sprue. I can't quite tell, which I find slightly odd, but maybe the fists were going to be either purple or black or something, and then they decided to paint them later. I should have probably asked Evan about that. He has no waist joint due to how the shoulder works, so I don't really see a spot for it, which I don't care. I think it's fine. Honestly, he's the only component I feel like I bought just to complete the combine mode. I mess with him the least. Now on to the more interesting one. Mixmaster. This thing looks great, very different from the Combiner Wars one, because for starters, it isn't that like weird American backwards cement truck. I remember seeing a bunch of those on our way to Virginia a few years ago, but I'd never see them in Canada. But I love the way this looks. There is a lot of detail in the lower legs, leading to a very nicely sculpted torso, and then the head in the shelf. Though the shelf gives you enough space so you can actually get your like fingers in there and rotate the head. It's not super tight, which I think is nice. The arms are the only thing that feels slightly more on the Combiner Wars side, but they do look and feel nicer to mess with. That's one thing to note. The Combiner Wars ones might be bigger, but the 86 ones feel so much nicer. They feel denser and more solid. The joints are better. The plastic is thicker. He doesn't really have any feet, which does look a bit odd, but at least there's an ankle tilt there. The back is just straight up a mixing drum, but you can remove it because it comes removed out of the box. Otherwise, you wouldn't fit in the box. And this guy has no waist joint, because there's an ankle tilt there. Now, the ratchet is a lot softer than Scrapper's, but the way it's done here, it's off to the left. Well, his left, our right. And you could probably have fit one in there at that angle, but it would have been very weird, I think. Now, I did ask Evan about this because I was curious after Scrapper's videos. So I asked him if it was because if you pulled on a mushroom there under that strong of a ratchet that it would break, or is it something to do with combine mode? And this is what he had to say. It's a bit of both. While we wanted to make sure the individual Constructicons still had good articulation, we found we needed to fuse the body and pelvis so that there wasn't the possibility of the bodies rotating when activating the combiner ratchet. So my initial theory was technically correct because he said it's a bit of both options I gave, but then he also went into that second reason a bit more in depth. And I guess if the ankle swivels out and he fell over, you could stress the joint potentially. That then brings up Brawl, who has an ankle in him and a waist joint, but he also has a frame, so that could mean more stability in the frame, thus the waist can exist. I'll probably ask one of the Hasbro guys closer to Brawl's release and the reveal of Onslaught. Back to the toy though, I like this a lot. It's quickly overtaken my top spot from Long Haul. So I guess that's not Scavenger. That's Scavenger. We'll start with Scavenger, not bloody Bone Crusher. So to start with, the head is on a ball joint. It can look around and it can kind of tilt a little bit. Actually, it might be on a swivel. I think it's on a swivel. I can't quite tell. It feels like a ball joint, but it doesn't go up or down. It goes up and down on that little hinge there. The shoulders, they are on ball joints. That I know for sure because you can see that. But they can do a full 360. They can go out. The elbows are on ball joints, so you get a 90-degree bend and a rotation. You can use this as a butterfly joint on this side if you want to. There's nothing at the waist, but He can have his dingling out. That's a feature, I guess. The hips can go forward that far. They can go back really far. They can go out. He can do a full split. You have thigh rotation. You have a single jointed knee that bends 90 degrees and then has this little bit that comes and like fills out the space. I like that. It does click into place. That's more for combined mode because it is a really sturdy click. And then you have ankle tilt that is detented, which I'm not a huge fan of it being detented because then you can't like cheat it slightly because then it just wants to pop back into place. Also, one thing I noticed, I don't know how well you can see it on camera. This is palm and these are not. And you can kind of tell the difference between the two under these harsh lighting. So that's just a thing to make note of that I just noticed now with the lights on. Oh, and then the bucket can go up and over if you want that. It can rotate, it can do all that sort of stuff. So that's him. Mixmaster, you've got the head, which is on, which you can rotate left and right. You can't really tilt it that much. It's got a little, you can't really see me tilting it, but it's got a little bit of tilt in there. But rotation's really all you're gonna get. The shoulders, they can do a full 360. They can go out that far. However, if you move the shoulders up this way, they only go out that far because these bump into the mixing drum. You have bicep rotation, a single jointed elbow that bends all the way, that goes all the way this far and then detents itself. And that's because in combined mode, it's supposed to stick out like this, but I just sort of leave them like that in combined mode. Nothing at the waist, you have that. The hips can go forward, they can go back, they can go in and out. Mine are a little bit loose, a little too loose for my liking. You have thigh rotation, you have 90 degrees of bend at the knee, and then a ginormous ankle tilt. Like, that's a massive ankle tilt. So, you know, no waist, no wrists. A little bit unfortunate. They do have ankle pivots though, so that's one over Widowmaker. But yeah, they're still not the greatest in articulation. They're all right. So yeah, both robots are fine, but Mixmaster to me is way more fun to mess with than Scavenger, who looks like a doofus. Now, Scavenger is just the Combiner Wars one again, but Mixmaster does some really cool new things to get into his alt mode. So we'll get the familiar one out of the way first. So to start with, you straighten out the legs and then fold the toes down. That'll form the treads. Then we're gonna take the hands, fold them in. Now, this part's a little bit different, so you want to take the bucket section, bring it up, open this section up and close that. Then you want to take the arms and shift them down a little bit, open this section up, then bring this over so that this sits up here. Then you can bring the arm the rest of the way down, peg it in, then you can bring this up. Now, this doesn't like lining up a lot on my copy, so I kind of have to like futz with it to get this to sit in that little cavity. In that little cavity there. But yeah, you have to do that arm in that very specific order, otherwise stuff just collides and it doesn't work very well. So bring this up, bring this down, peg it into place, then take the legs, bring them up, and they're just gonna sit in there. Got a couple tabs to hold everything in place. Close that up. And there you have Scavenger in his alt mode. Very solid brick, I like that. Mixmaster is interesting. His arms are very Combiner Warsy, so you just bring them down like that. Open this chest up, shift the arms up and into place like that, and then close this up over the head. That hides the head. I like that. Then you want to peg the legs together, and then you want to open this section up down here, fold the heels in, and then you want to open these little doors on the front of the truck. Then accordion this in so that it sits like this. Close that up, get the arms over, peg them into place, bring that down just to secure everything in. Then open this back section, fold the little spout up, close that up, and there you have Mixmaster. And that's really fun to do. I enjoy doing that back and forth quite a bit. It's very chunky and solid. It moves in large pieces and it's great. Like, this one's transformation is not bad, it's just, it's old. This one has a lot of new to it, which I enjoy more. This is where Scavenger shines. He looks fantastic. I have like no complaints with the excavator mode. Yes, the top doesn't rotate, but that's in service of the shoulder, so I'm okay with that. He just is a solid brick. The hand feel is super nice and everything stays tabbed together. The weapon storage is just plug it on the top of the vehicle, but I'm not that bothered with it. It sits kind of flush. Mixmaster's gun though sticks out like a sore thumb. But his vehicle is basically perfect. The drum doesn't spin, but that's probably because it locks the combined bits into place. Just like Scavenger, it holds together very well, everything stays put. But he also has pinned wheels, so he can roll very well. And he isn't horribly massive next to some other figures like the Combiner Wars one was. I think these two as a whole are pretty good. Visually, I don't like Scavenger's robot mode, but Mixmaster, honestly, I have like hardly any complaints with this toy. Now, there is a lot to talk about with Devastator, so you can guess what the next video is going to be. But for Devastator, I recommend both. But as standalone toys, I still think Mixmaster is a good pickup if you don't want to get the whole combining set, but you just want a good construction vehicle transformer. But that's been my look at Scavenger and Mixmaster from Studio Series 86. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.